because he could be away here. Barone controls it, flicks it out to Patrick again on the right-hand side. Oh, and he shoots! And what a goal.
I'm Patrick Alvarez,
Wow.
owner and founder of oLe FC. For numerous reasons. When I first came back, my intentions were to play and continue to play pro here in the States. I was playing in Galicia, Spain with Pontevedra Club Full. The economy when I was there in Europe in general turned out being really bad, and I figured I would come back home and play professionally here. I danced around with a couple clubs, Cosmos, jumped in with them, went out for some trials in MLS. Nothing really worked out in my favor. And the offers I did get, I was realizing that the pay was not great at all. Unless you're a big name coming over from Europe, you're not going to really get paid up to what you think you probably deserve, or to just financially create a family or have a stable lifestyle or household. It just wasn't there. So, as that time when I was here, the story is kind of great, but the short version, before I left for Spain, I did a little landscaping to save up some money to pay for my trip to go back to Spain and try out for some clubs there. In that experience, I met one of the homeowners of the house that I was landscaping. Always jumped off the mower and started playing with his kids' soccer in the front yard and stuff like that. And then when I came home from Spain, fast forward, I came home from Spain, I started, just doing a little bit of landscaping to help out my buddy and also make some side income. I happened to see him again, and he goes, "Hey, I didn't know you were back home. What are you doing?" I was like, "Well, I have some trials with some clubs here. The economy in Europe is not great, so, I'm back home trying to figure it all out." He goes, "Do you mind if you start training my kids a little bit?" Well, that's where it all began from there. So I started privately training his son for first, and then his daughter, and they were just progressing and progressing, and then it led to the parents on the team I guess he played for at the time were asking questions, and he goes, "Yeah, he's training with this guy that played pro in Spain, and he's back home." And next thing you know, it went from 2 kids to like 12 kids, and then 12 kids to like 20 plus kids, and it just kept snowballing effect, and just kept building up. And and then it kind of took a hold of me. I didn't really plan on it. It was something that just kind of happened. And all the major established teams that have been in the club for a little bit, within that 4 years, are all high-ranked teams within the ranking system of God Soccer. It's tough. Listen, everybody's journey is going to be slightly different. What I'm going to say is there's no cookie cutter way for you to make it pro. Everybody's journey is going to be different. But obviously, I learned a lot, and what I'm going to do for my kids if they do end up loving the sport and want to take that journey. I had my failures and I had my success. I kind of know what routes to take and what decision making to move towards, and to make them bring the odds more in their favor, right? Because let's be real, the odds are not in your favor to make it pro. I would say it's under 1%. First is culture, soccer culture. We don't have much of that in the United States. You go to everywhere else in the world, man, you grab a person from the cafe and, they could be dressed to the nine, and that guy could do 6 soccer tricks that the average person, soccer player here, can't even do. Because it's in their blood everywhere else in the world. It's starting to grab true traction in that reference in the United States, unless you're in a nook. And what I mean by nook, a town that happens to be very, they bring the culture with the demographic of people that live there. So that varies, because culture is huge. Popping out on the street and you see, people at the park, they're playing soccer on tennis courts just to make it work instead of playing tennis. We don't have that much here from where we live in Dutchess County. kids don't even play on the streets anymore, from what I see. So, first thing is soccer culture. Time invested into the sport, and I would say quality of information that you're receiving to critique the details of what you're executing on the ball and off the ball and decision making. Those are everything. So look, here, what you put in is what you get out, right? That goes into anything. Eventually, you'll get good at something if you keep at it. You know, it could be, doesn't matter the topic. And then on top of that, quality repetition, not creating bad habits and fundamentals. So quality training, and then playing at a competitive level and constantly searching for the best. So if you can solve an equation against the best teams in the country and the best competition in your area or whatever, then you are expanding your horizons in the sport and expanding your ability to play at higher level. So yeah, ODP was the place to play back when we were kids. High school kids were still getting recruited out of high school. Now you're lucky if you get a scout at a high school game. You know, like we have a country so big. I mean, we're United States we have states that are bigger than most countries. You know, Texas is not that far off of the size of Spain, but Spain produces what they produce because of their teachers. But back to what you were saying is ODP, you know, was the developmental program that was your route or your pathway to get to the national team, to get seen, and to get recruited, right? Now, it's like very similar to something like NCE, like a supplemental training program. Because since we have a country that's so big, and MLS is the highest platform that we hold in our states for a professional level, Academy came into the picture, right? So that way, and originally it was DA, right? And now it's changed over to MLS Next, which now, let's be real, everything in the United States is a business one. So that's their way of controlling the market. And then they're going to drill down lower and create lower levels, and there will be promotion relegation all the way up to the top. But regardless of that, and that's just my theory on that, that's not concrete, but I see that coming. But besides that, you know, Academy, these college coaches, and time is not accessible to everybody, right? And they don't want to see me playing against a low-level team in high school. It doesn't show me what I'm really capable of. So they're not going to go to a high school game. They're going to go to top showcase tournaments, and they're going to go to academy games. They want to see basically the fun. Can you make it to that 1%? If you're not in that 1%, yes, there are diamonds in the rough. Of course, there always will be, and there will be players that fall right through the cracks. It will always continuously to happen. But that's the way that our country is trying to be able to cover so much ground in this country to see players by creating levels and funneling the top players into one platform so you could then see what we have and then make our whole country more competitive. So ODP, you know, some people probably that are involved with the program would hate that I would say it's irrelevant now. If you want extra touches and, you know, whatever, by all means, you know, extra touch is not bad. But in reference to value, you know, so the world's changing. And listen, what's going on right now, 5 years from now, will be totally different. Now, you go into, let's say, Odell Beckham as an example, and that's a super athlete. So I can compare myself to Odell Beckham in reference of his speed and ability. He played soccer and football, but he picked at a young age. Football, you know, this is the time. It's either you got to pick left or right. Like you can't do both. You know, then people talk about like Michael Jordan with baseball and basketball, how he played baseball. You're talking about one of the super freak athletes of all time. Like, yeah, and then he went and played baseball. Did he do well in baseball when he went into baseball? Like some people say, you know, they get defensive about it because they love Michael Jordan. No, you in order to master something to play at a professional level, your brain has to be instinctive, muscle memory, cognitive process. If it's not reactive, you're too late. So, like, to each their own. If you want to play every sport, by all means, like, do whatever you want. What I will do with my kids will be entirely different, you know. And like I said, if they love that sport, will I let them go play with their friends and play whatever sport? By all means, go have fun, man. Like, enjoy yourself. But if you want to be a pro athlete, compare yourself to a pro athlete. Those kids are training 5 days a week with professional coaching and training. They have a private trainer. Their parents don't let them eat whatever. The best way I can explain it, the closest culture in the United States to the mindset of a professional background family in soccer is football in the South. Only ones that in America and basketball too, to certain degrees in certain families, if you're coming from Mount Vernon and certain areas like that, where the sport is not a hobby, it's a religion. That's where, like, up here, people think it's okay to lose. No, because saying okay to lose is like saying, okay, I'm okay with that guy getting that $100,000 job. It's okay that person just cut me online. It's all right. That person cut me online. Now I have to wait an extra 20 minutes, and now I'm late to my job interview, or now I'm late to my next thing in my life to continue the progression of my life. The mindset, and I'm not saying to be like unhealthy, fixated on winning. The point is that you strive to do your best and to get the best results out of whatever you're doing in life. So the best way I could compare it to is football in the South. Go to Texas, where they have high school stadiums the size of professional stadiums at high school. That is the best way I could compare it. Your life revolves around that sport. So if you want to be a professional athlete, you got to invest in that. One is time, and only time can play sport. I remember one quick little story. I went and I had missed like a week and a half of training, and I never done that in middle school. And I was going to basketball practice for middle school. And I get to training for soccer, and I reacted and grabbed the ball. Boom. It was a reaction. Was it a thought? And I was like, heck, why did I just grab the ball in soccer with my hand? My brain was in muscle memory of basketball. Now you're haywiring your muscle memory and your instinctive decision. So I wasn't moving like a soccer player. Just the ins and outs of how you score may be different. So, those are all those things like in that reference, and how I'm going to instill that is, is culture. Here we have an atmosphere of, you get here, it's like a big family. So thanks guys. Hope you enjoyed the podcast, and I'll see you guys in the next one.